shall we start?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So welcome everyone. A very good morning to all our attendees. Thank you for joining us for yet another session of Vogue Symposium webinar. So as you know, our main idea behind bringing this whole fashion symposium concept in the form of webinar was to utilize this lockdown opportunity and to create a platform for having a rendezvous with the ACE industry people. And continuing this saga, we present to you our eminent speaker for today, Mr. Narahari Kenkare. I welcome you, Mr. Kenkare. So we'll just let you know about him a bit. So he's a PhD in Textile Technology Management from North Carolina State University, US. And presently he is associated with Kripya Solutions Pvt Limited, Bangalore as Director of Marketing since 2015. He has been associated with many big brands like Lectra India, Bangalore, Lectra US, New York, NC State University, US, Osmania University, Hyderabad, Raymond's Limited, Chhindwara, India, and many more. He has also been the recipient of Best Centric Partner Project Business Consultant Award from Centric Software Inc. US. And he has also been National Textile Center Directors Award for the research project at NC State University, and many, many more. To the best of my capacity, I'm naming just few. So without much ado, let me pass on the screen to Mr. Kenkare to start his presentation. And the rules as usual, please type in your questions in question answer box, and we'll try taking them up all at the end of the session. So yes, Mr. Kenkare, over to you.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for a great introduction, and my sincere thanks for the Vogue Institute of Art and Design for providing this opportunity to present and to address you all. So I'll try to do my best, but let's see how it goes, because this topic itself is something very broad and by the end of this presentation, will not be just scratch the face of technology solutions that's out there. So if I had to say, this opportunity for me to be in front of you guys is a culmination of most of the important things, especially the three important things in my life. One, studies. I studied all my life textile, apparel, fashion. The second is I work in the technology area. A piece of that technology I'm going to talk about, it very, very small piece, that's a product lifecycle management today. And then the third one is for teaching. That's my passion. So this opportunity brings me to that platform today. So I have not done anything that's outrageously crazy. What I'm going to talk to you guys today, you can do it yourself, literally. I will just guide you through, because what I've done is use Google, YouTube, and free stock photo sites to get this presentation together for you all. So with that in mind, my idea is to inspire you to take up the area of fashion, apparel, technology, and textile fibers, everything included in that. And then as a student, if you are a student, to look at this area in a totally different view after today. If you are a researcher and teacher, to take this opportunity to teach your students and work more on this area. And if you are industry or if you are a consumer, to look at this presentation as an opportunity to see there are so many technology solutions out there, so many products that are out there, and some of them are literally life-changing. So with that, I'm going to start today's presentation. Like I said, I'm not doing this like to steal somebody's proprietary idea. It's just to take something that's out there in the public domain and to present it back to you all to inspire. That's it. Okay. So the first slide here, you're seeing the next slide here, right? So just to give you an intro to what we are doing today, if you look at our industry, huge, huge impact, right? Globally speaking, in terms of the people that are being employed and the footprint that our industry has. And if you look at it, it's unlike other industries. it has so much that's going on. The timeline that you have to look at, the variations that you have to look at. I'm going to present in the next slide one example. And apart from those complications that we are in the industry, uh, this cannot be done using just a manual process that we have been following for centuries. In fact, if you look at the impact of technology on our industry, it's been quite long from the beginning of the previous century, where we started using machines, newer machines, innovative machines, new fibers, new processes. Then you look at the impact of mechanical engineering, then electronics engineering, then computer science, internet, then you look at currently the data science, artificial intelligence, and a lot of mobile solutions. So huge area that we are talking about. So when the spectrum of this concept is so huge, the question comes to our mind is how much is too much, how much is too little, and what we need to do out there and what we should not. Because today, whatever you do outside in the world, it's kind of recorded, right? If you look at the social media impact, or if you do anything that's out there in the public domain, a lot of it. So I'll be extremely careful about what you do from a company standpoint, how you run the business, and also how you put your products out there for people to consume, use, recycle, upcycle, and everything that comes across. So I mentioned that I'm going to talk to you guys to show the impact or the enormity of what we are talking about with this one slide. So just take one simple garment, one simple style, and if, let's say, a designer has an idea, and then that idea is made in multiple places, and if you look at, this is OEM manufacturers and these are suppliers, and then you're procuring the fabrics from the mill and henceforth. If you look at, just you're talking about the people, the number of people that are involved here, just one side of the story. And if you put it back when eventually it get back to retail, just one small thing with few variations, it's going through such a gigantic effort. On top of this, we have a budget to worry about, we have time to worry about, we have quality to worry about, and then we have to be very efficient. With that in mind, it's quite impossible, like if you are today in the business without having to deal with any technology. Like I said, you just have to look at how much technology is too much technology, how much is too little. So with that in mind, I'll start looking at the 5 areas for the day. So I kind of did my best to split this into 5 areas. So again, some of the technology that I mentioned is going to touch upon many areas here, but I'll try to, at least from the supply chain point of view, I think we are all familiar with starting with the raw material and fiber and textiles, and then going through the process of designing, making or manufacturing, and then having a process to manage it all, and then eventually providing it under the umbrella of retail and having it used by a consumer, end consumer. So let's see if I can like take you through these stages and get across. So please have all your questions. So I'll be very happy to interact with you all in the end and more. In fact, like I said, this is just a beginning of the journey for your technology solutions. Okay. So to begin with, fibers. So when we are talking about fibers, so that's the first thing, fibers or textiles, the raw materials, if I had to generally classify under that. If you all look at the collection management, this is in fact like half or more of your cost. And also this is one of the critical thing, because at the end of the day, raw material is the one that will impact the eventual quality and the way that your footprint in the marketplace is. So if you look at the fabrics and if you look at the fiber landscape, historically and now, there are only like 31 types of fibers that are available. And very rarely we come across a new fiber type that's been introduced in the market. We always see new fashion, new collection, new silhouettes, new colors, new everything, but rarely we come across fiber types that's been introduced in the marketplace. So what that means is that we have limited number of palettes to work with. And then we have to always constantly look for newer ways to put these fibers together that make sense. That means we had to look at a new way of regenerating the fibers, blending it, putting it together in different structure, and then using it for our purposes. So what I have done today is to introduce you to two areas. One, I think, which you are probably familiar with, the fibers that are already there, like we use a different methodology to regenerate it and make it into products. And one, hopefully you're not that familiar with, it's a lab grown fibers. I think this is something in the last decade or so and moving forward will have a huge impact. So I'll talk about few examples in this area. Just to briefly brush through, I think you're probably familiar with hemp, which has a good antibacterial, it's durable, it's resilient, and then it's also serves almost like a natural air conditioner, but it has like it has a very much limitation in which it is grown or cultivated across the globe. And the one coffee, I think, which we all are familiar, we drink and throw all the residues. So there are products that are being done using the residues of coffee uh, uh, and then with the polymer spinning the yarn. And then there are examples. This is called as I think there is a product called Pinatex, which is considered as a vegan alternative for leather. So it's a non-woven material, and it's been used in some of the products. And we have banana. Banana stem is used. It's considered more. I think it's like a bamboo fiber, but better. And then we have lotus, which is kind of may not be in our country. Some of the other countries like Thailand, it's been used from centuries, and it has a property of a combination of silk and linen. Uh, I think it's been used for luxurious fabrics for a long time. Just that it's a little bit cumbersome and it's a little complicated to make. So these are some of the things probably you're aware of. And the next things that I'm going to present is, I'm not sure whether you're come across these things. These are all lab grown fibers. So the first example that I'm going to present is from a company called Bold Threads. So this is a bioengineered protein fiber mimicking the structure of spider silk. The way that this is done in a very simplistic way, if I had to explain, of course, like not involving all the complicated processes and chemistry. So in a simple sense, a protein is extracted from a spider, and it's in the form of a silk polymer. You copy that DNA and put it into a yeast cell, put that into a fermenter, feed sugar, and then agitate it, and the spider silk protein is pumped out. It's collected, it's purified, and it's extruded and made it into a filament. Okay, and this, I think I'm presenting this example because you will see a lot of companies doing this, generating new fibers, but it's very hard to market it. It's very hard to really find out where it can be sold, and all the collaborations that you need to do to get those fibers into the marketplace. So this particular fiber, I think there was a collaboration with a designer called Stella McCartney, and then this fiber found some examples out there in the marketplace. You can Google this and then you can read all about it. So this, I feel, is having some commercial success, and I think the company has collaborated with designer, went through the whole process of creating a product and then presenting it, and also getting a marketplace for it. So eventually it's a combination of art and science together, put into your product. This is one example. The other example is an example from a company called Modern Meadow. So this is something I think I'm really excited if it becomes a generic product in the marketplace, because we oftentimes come across difficulty to handle with leather, right? I think if you're familiar with the leather supply chain, you'll know how complicated it is, because the raw material is limited and the process it goes through is gigantic, with a lot of chemicals, and at the end, a lot of raw material is wasted, and we consume a lot, and the consumption is going by the day without a proportionate growth in the leather industry. So this is a very promising solution that I came across. If you look at this, how this is made, is it's made of collagen, and the way it's grown in the lab, it's engineered cell, and it's kind of grown tremendously. It multiplies, and then you harvest that collagen, and then you can kind of like have a scaffolding and grow it in the form of the product that you need, or the panels that you need, so that the wastage is very much limited. That means, like, if you are growing a purse, like if you are making a purse, like have a kind of a structure that is very similar to what the end product looks like. If you are making a jacket, then like devise the panels accordingly. Once it's made and assembled into a material, it looks somewhat like this. You can look at online, like it's really amazing to see how this come out. And you can also see some products in the marketplace. So this is what I was talking about, like not only just building something in the lab, but also making that as a product and taking all the way through in the marketplace. Okay, that's about the fibers. Now I'm going to talk about the next topic, that's design. So if you look at the design area, this is something that's really fascinating, because the design is something that's a DNA for a company. And historically, if you look at, we always had colors, shape, size, silhouettes to play around. But on top of that, today we have so many new innovative way of dealing with designs. Included in that is electronics, AI, mobile, and many more aspect. So give you some examples. So I talked about the color. So this is one example from color. So you have a black dress, but the panels are all like laser coated. And when you pass the model with the heat, then the color of the panels changes to the desired way that in which you have planned. So literally, it's not only the one way of like doing that conventional way of getting the colors. We have more refined, many refined ways of getting the color. That's number one. To go along this example, I think these are all some examples that's there from quite some time. If you look at the timeline for these, it's there from quite some time. This one is really fascinating, because this example uses the mechatronics, basically the tubes, wires, and the micromotors. So basically what it does is, like the dress is built in such a way that the electronics is built in. And I mean, this is like 2007, this example, right? So this is nothing to do with mobile, like all the apps and controlling from that angle. It's all mechanical and sensors to control the way the dress looks like. I think this designer is like very much known for really fantastic ideas in the world of fashion. And some of it today, if we look at, this was 2007, and if you look at 13 years down the line, now can be done in the labs, maybe in your institutions. A lot of it can be developed, and more, in fact. So that leads us, I mean, this is one more example, leads us to this example of wearable technology. If you are in the fashion world, or if you're watching out there in the world, wearable technologies is pretty much everywhere. So you look at the iWatches and the Fitbits and a lot more that comes across, along with the LED dresses and a lot more that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. This marketplace is exploding, literally. So if you look at the numbers, where it is today and where we are going, so the marketplace for wearables is huge. It's not just because of some very successful products in the marketplace, but also the ideas, because you can do a lot of new innovative things. This example that I'm going to talk about is something crowdsourced project, and this is released in the marketplace this year. It's released by Sony. Of course, we're all probably familiar with Sony, and it's available in Japan for $117. So the product is wearable air conditioner. It's really cool because it's a kind of a console, and you can kind of embed this console in your undershirt. It's a pocket in the undershirt, and then you can charge this console for 2 hours and use this for 90 minutes. And it's fantastic because I think our country, I think we need it across. Like it works both for making the air condition, that means the cooler air, as well as the hot air. I have an example. Hopefully you can see this well. So let me know if you don't see it. You hear a music, and it's a small illustration of how this product works. So that's an app where you can control the temperature. That's it. So you have it. Okay, so that's one example. And some of the other examples that I'm going to show you here is just, I think I'm excited about these things because this has some real cool purpose. The first one that you're looking at, again, like these are all available out there if you Google, you will find out, I don't know whether you can buy it and use it, but right away, but these are all there in the marketplace. So one is this application that you're talking about is the clean air accessory, and it's really cool. Like you can just wear it to get the clean air. The other one is basically for the people with with hand paralysis. They can hold, they can add this accessory and hold, let's say, a bottle, or like do some common things that we often take things for granted. And the next example that you are looking at, somewhat very similar, uh, very much medical applications. These are all both of it. One is to help somebody walk again, and the other one is for somebody to see again. So if you look at the wearables in today's marketplace, not everything is totally commercialized and being used to make profits, but some of it is there to change people's life. So that's really cool about the technology. So that's what I'm very much excited about. So the next example that I'm going to talk about in the same design area is the artificial intelligence fashion designer. So this one, I think if you can look at, there is one from Amazon, what they are doing, a research as well as some of the implementation from the product point of view. Amazon, if you look at like 10 years back, uh, if I had to take my own experience, I would probably not had bought anything on Amazon, fashion item or apparel product. But today, if you look at Amazon and the where and where Amazon is from a fashion point of view, it's on some of the cutting edge technology. So they have used algorithms to design cloth, looking at the images and copying the popular styles, and making this fashion designer like products. So not only Amazon, I deal with some of the brands worldwide, and I know some of the companies that are really looking at this area. So they no longer are looking at only the fashion designers, but they are all looking at fashion designers plus data scientists. So in the long run, some of the basic fashion items or some of the items where it depends on the fashion trends and marketplace, they can really simulate the product and like give somewhat like ready to use product for the designers to work on. So if I have to talk about the fashion forecasting, the next example, I think we are all familiar with WGSN. And if you look at some of the examples that they have done, some of the projects, some of the initiatives that they have done using cognitive computing, to use that plus the traditional methods to come across the forecasting methods that can predict what is going to come out there in several months, several years down the line, using the data that's out there in the public domain and using the machine learning and the science behind it to project the forecasting in more appropriate way. Okay, so that covers my design area examples. So next, to talk about the manufacturing area. I think this area, if you look at, in my experience with the industry, the manufacturing is the area where they're always on the receiving end, because designer comes with a vision and they kind of put forth what they want and what they see that manufacturing has to comply to and bring it into the marketplace. And the manufacturers are the ones like who kind of struggle a lot to come up with a lot of accessories. And this is the area which has constant innovation, whether it is something to do with a variation in machineries or processes, or adjusting to the timelines, or even coming up with new ways of doing things, new ways of complying to what they do. So this area, like I said, is always under the stress. And on top of that, nowadays, if you look at, there's a lot of vigilance when it comes to sustainability and what the manufacturing units has to go through. So just to kind of throw some light on the sustainability area, of course, like this is not only just manufacturing, but cuts across the entire supply chain. Just I didn't find a right area to introduce this concept, so I just put that here. So if you look at the numbers here on the screen, it's just mind-boggling, literally. I mean, if you look at just see the first one, the textile fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the world. And some of the other numbers is just mind-boggling. And this has always been there, but now the difference is the end consumers and the brands are more cautious about what they need to put in the entire supply chain. So I have some examples at a later point in the retail area to show you. But here, if I look at some of the things that I had to talk about, is the sustainability and the way that impact of it on some of the companies. Like one example here is with Adidas. They partnered with a company called, an organization called Parley for the Ocean, to bring up a product from a marine plastic debris, right? So in year 2017 itself, they had planned to make 1 million shoes from this process and market. So that's something really awesome. I think we have so many examples out there, and this term, recycling to upcycling, has become something that is out there as one of the trends in the marketplace. So you will see a lot of companies looking at how they can recycle some of the things, not only just the things that are there, and also some things that are old, some things that are not consumed any longer, and upcycle it and bring it into a new life. Okay, so talking in the same line for manufacturing, robotics, I think it's one of the popular concepts. So you will see if you go into the manufacturing area, so many machineries with a lot of intelligence. I just want to point out one example here from a company called Software Automation in US, in Atlanta, US. So they have made a product or a system called a Subot. So what this does is basically you don't have to touch anything. It literally, like from start to finish, you can make a garment using this method. And it's out there. Some of the companies are using it. May not be to make t-shirts today, but certainly to look at some of the applications for bath mats, some of the automotive products, some of the medical products more precisely, because these days handling of the products in the medical area is quite stringent. And the economics of this is probably not going to reach the mass apparel market anytime soon, hopefully, because a lot of jobs are at stake, especially in the countries like ours and a lot of other neighboring countries. So if you look at the way that this is being marketed, it costs $5,000 a month to maintain one robot system. And if you really calculate the way that it works out is currently it's $55 per shift per machine if it is working 7 days a week, 3 shifts altogether. So literally $55, and it's currently marketed only in US. But if you look at the impact of this, if it made into a very cheaper alternative, it can certainly have a huge global impact, these kind of manufacturing solutions. So that's one example. And other example, I think, which I think you will see a lot of robotic solutions that's been used in the distribution area. It's a part of a supply chain, may not be completely a manufacturing domain. But if you look at this example, right, I mean, the reason why I put this example here is it's both robotic intelligence, machine learning, and sensors at stake here. So if you look at the top bin here, it takes the product, it understands what product it's picking, it scans, it kind of sorts, it sorts in different bins, and then you can run the whole fulfillment facility with this. I think Amazon is using, and a lot of other companies are using this. I have a quick video for this so that you can look at how, in essence, this works. And there are so many examples similar to this that's out there. Okay. It's an example for Kindred. That's a robotic company in collaboration with Gap. Had on some projects. So this example is I think I initially thought of spending a lot of time on 3D printing, but I feel a lot of you are all familiar with 3D printing and the impact of it. So I thought I will just introduce you to this concept and let it for now for today's session, because I thought like there are a lot more probably unknown areas to cover. So that brings me to my favorite area called manage. So this is where I work, in the sense the products that are related to the management area. So if you look at the industry and the business itself, this is probably the toughest of all, because at the end of the day, when you look at running a company, a lot of things are, a lot of decisions has to be made based on how you really put together a product from start to finish. And in a situation like today, we have many pieces of technology that are available for companies to work with. So what I will do is, instead of like really cluttering the space, I will introduce you to one area specifically, but I'll just cover like these two areas, at least to introduce you to these two areas. One is product lifecycle management. That's the area that I work on. And the other one is enterprise resource planning. So the product lifecycle management is a first piece of the puzzle, where from the budgeting all the way up to manufacturing, And the second one is the enterprise resource planning. All the executional part of the business is taken care of in the ERP solution. So to give you a little bit of a landscape about the technology solutions that's out there when it comes to the product development area. So you're probably familiar with the CAD, I think, which is there even today, and it's been introduced long back. And then on top of CAD, we started adding data to the product, to the designs that we have, and then slowly enhanced it from like data management to lifecycle management plus, meaning now we have not only just the conventional way of looking from planning all the way from designing to spec to making it. We have a mobile apps that can do certain activities, and then some artificial intelligence as well, so that it can make things faster, better, and smarter. Okay, so if you look at the bottom side, so what has happened in the due course is we have moved from an individual machines to an enterprise machines, where enterprise platforms or enterprise machines are the ones where individually individual employees contribute to the success of the enterprise, success of the company. Means everybody needs to contribute, everybody needs to add the data into the system so that the enterprise benefits at the end of the day. Okay, so this is something like very simple definition of PLM, because you may not come across this technology that much, because it's more or less like an invisible thing. It's just like how you go into the bank and you just look at the money, but at the end of it, behind the scenes, there is so much that happens behind the scene in the bank. Similar to that, when you're looking at the product, from the point that you look at the initiation of the product to the time that it's developed and marketed, there's a lot that happens behind the scene. That's this PLM. Okay, so even though I'm like very excited to talk about PLM, maybe I can talk for several hours and days maybe, but just I wanted to introduce you to this term and live it. So because I mentioned about the ERP, I just want to point you out here where the ERP and PLM resides. So I mentioned you start the idea and you take all the way up to the making and then the other piece. So it's kind of like where one ends, the other starts, or the line is merging to some extent. So if you're interested, please learn more about it. This is something that I think most of the companies are using today, at least the ERP for sure, and PLM in the future. If not, certainly like you will come across in your lives when you are dealing with the companies, fashion industry. Okay. So to give you a little bit more, like a very brief introduction about the PLM. So it starts with concept to consumer, but if you look at the pieces that it kind of encompasses, it starts with planning, specification, manage material, the source, you manage all your quality piece there, and then you can manage your collection and your merchandise, how much will go when to the marketplace. And also you can manage your TNA, that's a calendar management, when, what, how you will do, and who will do it. And on the other side, it connects to the other piece of technology, because today we believe that you have to add the data in one place and you have to consume it everywhere else. So no replication of the data. You don't have to like keep on punching in many places. So you start in one place. It should integrate into a different areas that you work with, whether it is a connected technology like ERP, or whether you are working with whether you are working with illustrated designs or 3D designs, or if you are extending your systems to the mobile environment, or you're integrating with your CAD, conventional CAD system. So it all should sit in one place. It has to be a connected device. That's how powerful this PLM platform is. So please look at this a little bit more and learn. So this is the technology that's out there in the marketplace today and will be in future. So that leads me to the last piece of our discussion, retail and consumer. So today, I think this is really critical. I think every one of the piece that I talked about is, but this is the one that really makes or breaks the business, because retail is what brings the money in. eventually when the consumers buy the products is when they are paying for everybody in the entire supply chain. So without consumer buying, nothing is going to happen. Today, if you look at the last several months, because people are not buying, everybody is affected throughout the supply chain. So at the end of the day, as a business, need to make people buy. And for that, I think companies are doing everything and anything that they can in terms of technology or in terms of uh, modifying themselves to a totally new entity. That means they are like changing as much as I can to the trends that are available out there and making themselves in vogue, literally. So I have selected few technology pieces today to talk about. One is fit, especially because this is something that we are all familiar in the fashion world. Without proper fit, along with color and price point, of course, the products are not going to be sold, and we have historic problem in our industry. So there are many solutions out there. So to cater to this need, I've pointed out to one application. I think if you Google TrueFit, it's there in the industry from quite some time now. At least, I mean, in the technology term, 5-6 years is quite some time, honestly. So if you look at this example, what they do is like they collect the data. This is available on some of the retailers' websites. So you feed in some data based on what you already own, and based on that, it will suggest you which item will fit in well in the website that you are shopping. And then it will also suggest you as you go along, more and more you buy, it gets better and better. So I have a small video which runs for a minute to look at the complete process for you. So these are all the websites that's been implemented.
First, tear up generalized size charts, throw away tape measures, and eliminate any fit technology that's based on weak data. There you go. Now shop your favorite stores. That's a good one. Click the button that says Find Your True Fit. Just enter some info about a style you currently wear. Yep, that's the one. Think of your go-to that fits just right. And voila, you're done. Now see your own personal fit rating and recommended size for every style. That was easy.
How'd they do that?
Data. Lots of data. Not that data. This data. TrueFit has become the world's largest collection of footwear, apparel, and consumer fit data. TrueFit knows what fits because it analyzes billions of data points about how all those brands and styles fit each shopper.
It does?
Indeed. TrueFit crunches the numbers for you. And the more you shop using TrueFit, the smarter it gets at fitting you. So shop with confidence. More confidence. Okay, dial it back. Perfect. Wait for applause, win some awards, and that's how you get fitted in
Yep, that's a very quick
under 60 seconds.
Okay. So the next example that I think I'm really fascinated with this particular company, because I think they have put together something that's just amazing. Because if you look at the retail landscape in the last few years, you will hear news about a lot of stores closing, a lot of businesses going down and like maybe reducing and getting into a new area. So this company called Stitch Fix has started like from scratch. Literally, they have used artificial intelligence and data science, and then they request the purchasers to add some preference data. That means their height, their risk-taking ability, their color of preferences, and their climatic condition, their location, things like that. And then what the Stitch Fix does is it will rank the customers and the product that they are going to associate with the customers. And the stylist will further, that means the human element in between, will refine the selection, and then they pick 5 products from their warehouse, ship it to the customer, and then they will pick the one that they like and then return back the ones that they don't. And if you look at the idea, it's just amazing, because like a few years back, this company is doing really well and continuing to do that. So I have a very quick video on this. Like, just look at the process, just to give you an insight about this. that's a very good number out there, right? So $1 billion plus revenue a few years back. Okay, so the next example, I think I'm going to take you through a few examples in augmented reality and virtual reality. So the virtual reality, I think anything virtual is like totally like you're taking away the real situation. That means you're blocking the reality completely. The augmented actually is basically the one that's overlaying the physical. The digital is overlaying the physical. So these days, like some of the smartphones are capable of this like technology. So one example, if I had to give you, is a partnership between North Face, the company North Face, with a company called Fluid, with an engine from IBM, the Watson cognitive technology engine. So what they have done is basically ask the consumer to fill in few data points, basically whether to like answer few questions literally, and based on that, they will take that person to an environment where they will be seeing the product, where they will be using the product, and literally make the choice of that consumer as limited as possible and as the experience as wonderful as possible. So that's one example. The other example, I think you probably will see this in our markets as well these days. So where you can hold your smartphone against the product in the retail environment, and it will point you out like how much the price is. And sometimes I think this I'm very much interested in knowing how much the discount is, like, and right away I can go to the area that if based on the availability, like whether I need to go into one area of the retail environment or the other. So likewise, there are so many examples out there which you can really come across when it comes to virtual reality and augmented reality. So talking about few things that I think is exciting in the industry is a company called Provenance. They are working on a technology where this is a fairly new technology. I think if I had to talk about the blockchain, I think it'll be like it'll take probably months to talk about this. So basically, what they do is the transparency, right? I think that's one of the criticality, because in today's environment, if you look at what's happening, you will not know, even though the brands and retailers claim that these are all ethically sourced or they are not used something that they are not supposed to, still there is no validity, like there is no guarantee that it has gone through that process. So basically this company has partnered with brands and retailers, and they will start from the raw material until the retail. They will tag using RFID or basically the QR codes, and then when it really comes to the retail environment, the end consumer can just scan and then see the complete history of what this product has gone through. Just amazing example. I think if you had to look at a futuristic example that's going to have a huge impact on the business and the bottom line of the business, please look into this technology. I think this is something really fascinating. And I want to end with one example. I think it may not be like totally out there in our industry today, but I'm sure that Amazon is going to figure out, because Amazon, like I said, is there in the industry where a lot of things are cutting edge. So we will see today, not from Amazon, but from many companies out there, we will see magic mirror, virtual fitting room, and a lot of fragmented technology that's out there. But I think that the shopping experience that at one day for our industry should be something as cool as what I'm going to show. Just use something like as minimalistic as possible, but have a huge impact. So I'm just going to show you this example. I think this is the retail environment. I think a few years back, Amazon store that came across in several cities across US. So you just like swipe your mobile. And
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go?
What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So, how does it work? We used computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you'd find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout.
I'm going to end the session there with talking about few things that's exciting out there. So there is a ton of technology. Honestly, I think, like I mentioned earlier, an hour or 50 minutes, honestly, is not sufficient at all. This is something as a student, as an educator, as a researchers, you just have to explore deeper and deeper. I'll promise if you get into this on a surface, it will drive you down so deep. I tell you, just doing a research for this presentation, I started with very little, and then I soon realized like there is so much out there. It's so hard to like really control what we put together here in this presentation. So remember, there are a ton of technology, and at the end of the day, we had to worry about the profits, and as a business, that's what drives. And then I didn't talk about this concept at all today, but the change management, I think investing on some technology, a piece of technology or an enterprise technology is, I think, to some extent, it's a decision that management makes. But eventually, if it has to really reach its full potential, every individual who uses it needs to get on board and use to the best of its ability. So that's when the real success is. Okay. So with that, I'm going to end the session for the day. So I think I'll just open this up for everyone to discuss about some questions that you may have, and we'll take it forward. So that's about it from my side. Any questions, anybody?
This was a wonderful session, Mr. Kenkare. Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, various technologies and fabrics made out of nature. Banana stem and lotus was something which really intrigued me. Spider web, yeah, one of the things which really intrigued me. So, and yeah, wearable technology and portable air condition, like a lot of things. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now let's take up the questions. So Mr. Ganesh asks,
okay.
Can you please tell us why the unique natural fibers like bamboo and lotus are not gaining commercial success? What are the technical and industry associated problems that these fibers are facing?
So one is the cost of making. I think if I had to talk about lotus in particular, the harvesting and the way that in which you have to make it into a fiber and a yarn is too much cumbersome. I think the research needs to be made a lot more there. I think people like Ganesh, who is working in this area, need to make a lot of efforts in refining, defining, and making it more simpler for people to adopt. Literally, the technology is there. It's just like how we have in a lot of areas. You need manpower, muscle power, and money power to make it and bring it to the masses. So it may be some of it is quite impossible because the nature of it is just like that, and some of it is possible, just that the work needs to be done, especially in the area of regenerated fibers. I'm really excited because if you look at the natural fibers and literally the landscape of the available raw material for us, if you look at in general, it's quite limited. We'll have to always figure out a way and get better at it as we go along and make it and bring it into the masses so that it's used and consumed in much wider audience. So I feel if I had to answer the question, it's more to do with the processes and the cost that is involved in it today. And to some extent, we'll have to figure out a balance, because if you look at these fibers, right, it has to be blended with some other fibers like cotton or some other synthetic fiber for you to really use it. You some instance, you can't use just as is, right? So, but still, like if you look at the blends, which is best of both worlds, that's how the blends are, right, in the textile industry. So it's always, there is a potential. Okay, sounds good. Hello? Hello, did I lose you guys?
I guess she has lost connection.
Oh, okay. Okay. Am I back? Were you able to hear me out, or like did we lose out?
No, yeah, we can hear you actually.
Okay. Okay.
Uh, so let's carry on with the QA session. Meanwhile, she'll join back. Hello.
Yeah. I'm here.
Yeah, you can hear, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, the next question is, where can we source special yarns from?
Oh my goodness, you're getting directly into the yarns. I think you have to do your research, honestly. I think there are quite some places. I think if you specify what exactly it is, maybe like if you pass along the information, I can certainly like take it and like guide you through. Maybe
Sure.
like yarn is like it's a quite generic question. Like please get specific.
Sure. Okay, another question is, what is the current scenario of Indian fashion market?
Indian fashion market. Okay, so maybe I should take a session for that, honestly. So it's very hard to say like in few words, but I think what I had to say, if I had to respond to this in like few minutes, I think we are in a state where if we do few things right, means that if we build brands, and if we concentrate more on designs and some technological solutions, and also like really give what customers consumers want, I think this market is all set for explosion. Literally, this is I think that's why I'm like totally banking on our industry here. So I think very exciting industry. I think, like I said, it's very hard to answer this in few minutes. So I mean, it's we are in like really great shape. Just that like we are going through a lot of issues today, and with the way that the world is, maybe this year probably, but in the next few years, you will see a lot of good stuff coming out of our marketplace.
Sir, I have a doubt. Like,
Yeah.
See, what happens? What we are teaching is like fashion designing,
Yeah.
and I'm teaching a CAD.
Yeah.
So here, what happens? A designer will be having very huge knowledge, like how he or she
Mm-hmm.
design. But what happens with the technical things is like if I'm a CAD operator, so I'll be not having that much idea about the design. So how this can be solved? Like this is happening
Yep.
from the past. Actually, if you see that the designer and a technical person, like if a technical designer will be having who is a technically very strong, he'll be knowing more about the fabrics. He may be not that much good in designing. But one who is very good in designing, he'll be not knowing about the fabrics. So this combination,
Correct.
how can we solve this?
So two ways to
technology?
do this. Like in a simplistic way, if I had to answer, the simple way is collaborate. That means like not everybody will have every skill set for life. So you just have to collaborate. Like if you look at the examples that I provided here in the presentation, most of it is a collaborative effort. Like there is no way that one can like just stick to their core skill set and expand their vision to do new things in life. So that's number one. The other one, like down the line, you may have, let's say, a designer may have to learn new skill set to get through in the marketplace. So if you're a teacher, I would request you to like imbibe your students with that concept, saying that if you're a designer, that's good, well and good, but you may have to be prepared to become a technologist at some point of time. So maybe learn new skill set over a period of time and get better at it. So that's a two-way. That's the only two-way if I had to think about it.
Yes, sir. So, like they should be like uh, learning many things so that then only
Yeah, I think
they
we
can
used to
new
say like you have to
innovations.
be good in one thing, but I mean, just you know the proverb like jack of many things and master at one. Now I think you have to be master at few things and jack of many more. I think at least
Yeah.
that's the new world that we are living in. So you cannot say that I'm good in one thing and I'll be only sticking to that.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Is 3D pattern making possible?
Yes, definitely possible. That's one technology that's out there, and for quite some time now, I think the companies have gotten very good at it. I think
Okay.
if you look at like we have passed beyond the 3D pattern making now. I
Oh,
think
wow.
yeah, it's I think yeah, you can just research it out there. So I think 3D pattern making is something like you can just devise the pattern right of the mannequins. Or maybe you need to have a skill set with pattern making so that you know what you're getting, but definitely the technology is there, underlying technology is there for you to support.
Right. So in present scenario, one side people are going very organic and natural and close to nature. Other side, a lot of technology is coming up. So how do you think a balance would be maintained? How to maintain equilibrium?
So I see and I vision technology as something like an air, right?
Oh,
It's not, I mean, like technology should be something you still continue to go towards nature. You continue to go towards organic, sustainable, but the technology should support you in that vision to go in that direction. So it should be there as an enabler for you to achieve the goal, whatever it is, as a company, as an individual. So it's a blend of both. It's a balancing act that I think we need to continuously do forever.
uh, what does OEM means? I
It's
think.
original equipment manufacturing. So
Okay.
it's just, I mean, generally that's a term that we use in the industry for manufacturing.
Okay. And do we have Amazon Go in India?
I don't think so.
Think
I
so.
don't
Okay.
think not currently.
Why we are very backwards?
No, don't go in that direction, please. Don't.
Yeah.
We are
Because
forward. I mean, it's just that the market dynamics or basically, if you look at the money-making machine, in some countries it's much well oiled, I should say, and here it's not bad. It's just that like it's not there yet. So, and also for the companies, right? Like if I take any company for that matter, so they cannot like really put everything everywhere at the same time. So just to give the example of Amazon Echo itself, right? I mean, if you look at the devices, it came in one country and then like slowly trickled into other areas. Even if you look at some of the phones that companies release, they release in one marketplace and it kind of trickles into another area. Like it all depends on the ability of the company to sustain and market, and also the marketplace itself, which dictates. Okay, the idea was like you will probably see something similar or close to it pretty soon, I should say, for sure.
Yeah. Um, Mr. Ashoka, I think more than a question, he has a statement. So
Okay.
the hour for current and next generation to have broader view and vision, I think students after final year completion or within final year, they have to connect with different technocrats, students and entrepreneurs to make this vision complete. These students to be connected to the collaborators, trust and government assistance.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
100%. In fact, more because this should become a culture for us, honestly,
Right.
because we continue to learn. It's just like how you mentioned the other example where we continue to drive towards the nature, but at the same time, the technology is there.
Yeah.
Similar to that, we should start with conventional fashion technology, apparel technology, textile technology knowledge, and just like how we have these electives, these auxiliary courses, you build from the beginning, not just like when we get out, but from the beginning, like we have to somehow continue to blend the conventional piece of knowledge with the new piece of knowledge or technology. Yeah, totally agree.
So this was a wonderful session. I mean, I myself learned so much. I'm sure Srimukha is also mesmerized with the presentation, and so are our attendees. And for the PLM that you mentioned, I think we'll again collaborate with you to have another session because you can talk for hours.
Okay, yeah, sure, definitely. Like I said, like I hope it was inspiring for you to like start doing new things. That's the whole idea. But like I mentioned earlier, and now that this is just a beginning, you just go into this area, you get sucked into it, and like you will really enjoy it because it's fascinating. Any direction you look, it's fascinating.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
for opening so many new horizons for us. Thank you for
Okay,
time.
thank you.
And
all right, have a good
thanks to
afternoon,
all our
everyone.
attendees as well.
Yep.
Same to you, Mr. Kenkare.
Thank you.
And for the attendees, thank you for sparing time and join us for the next session. That's on 10th. Yeah, so we'll meet all soon again. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.